Hello, welcome to JIBRIN ANGLE on OWELEKE TV. My name is JIBRIN. Once again, we are having our regular and special guest, Barrister Austin Manta. He is a legal practitioner, a very, very senior lawyer who has been in practice for almost 40 years now. So we will be discussing several issues that is making the rounds in the Nigerian politics. We shall be talking about economic issues, political issues, and probably business issues as well. I think ranging from Kano State Emirate controversy, we shall be talking about that. We all know what just took place or what is I think is still happening, the controversial issue surrounding the Kano Emirate. But we shall also be talking about IMF. IMF, was it sometimes last week or so, IMF actually told federal government, Nigeria's government, to stop electricity subsidy. We shall be talking about that. We shall also be talking about federal government that intends to spend, I think they are about spending about 20 trillion naira of pension fund on infrastructure. That is another very sensitive topic we shall be talking about. We shall also be talking about federal government approval of 90 billion. When I say 90, when I say billion, that is with a B to subsidize Hajj. I think Hajj, yeah, correct. Then we shall also be talking about Wole Soyinka going after Peter Obi again. This is probably the fourth time Wole Soyinka has actually kept his foot on the pedal against Peter Obi. We shall be talking about that. And we shall also revisit the Lagos-Calabar coastal road mess. I call it a mess because it is. That is exactly what it is. We shall be talking about. We've talked about that. It was deliberate for me to use revisit because we talked about that extensively in our previous show. So we are going to be probably giving an update. I think that we are revisiting it by giving you an update, and we shall talk about. You will actually share our opinion with you. Yes, Barrister Manta, thank you so much for joining us once again out of your busy schedule.
Thank you.
All right, viewers, this is JIBRIN Angle. My name is JIBRIN, coming to you live on Oweleke TV. If you are new here, please subscribe and set on your notification bell so that whenever we have a show like this, you'll be notified to watch. And we are on all major social media platforms on Facebook, on X, excuse me, on TikTok, on Instagram. Just at Oweleke, if you just put Oweleke, just put in Oweleke TV, you get our platform. You get to our platform, then we have a website. Our website is so robust. Whatever you want to know or you need to know about this organization, you just go to the website at www.oweleke.tv. Once again, thank you for joining us. If you are a repeat audience or viewer, thank you for being with us. Thank you for coming back. And if you're new, like I said earlier, please subscribe so that you can actually follow us, help us to grow as well. That being said, let's delve into the nitty-gritty of what we have today for you. Thank you so much once again for everyone, and especially Barrister Austin Manta, for being with us again today. Now, Barrister, let's start with this. Let's start with this. Let's take briefly this Lagos Calabar coastal road mess. What is after you notified me of that, I think I went to read the details about what really happened, and it's just such a crazy thing. Can we just talk about that briefly?
Yes, thank you very much. This issue is just like the normal or average Nigerian problem. We always put the cart before the horse. The first thing that ought to have been done is the design of the road and the realignment and the surveys. Everything ought to have been done before you move to the stage of awarding the contract and releasing money. Both the environmental impact assessment, the survey and design of the roads, these are preliminary issues that ought to have been done long ago, clarified, finished, before you even ask for tender. Because if you did not finish this, on what basis are you asking for tender for the project? Now we are hearing that the Lagos part of it has been suspended. The construction of the road has been suspended because at a certain place, I think kilometer 24, that they said the road, because of the realignment, they abandoned the original design where the road was passed,
Yeah.
and realigned it where massive businesses were located. A particular beach that was constructed about $200 million was demolished, only for them to now come out with, oh, this road is passing on top of submarine cables that carry internet that affect 33 countries. And if we continue with the road, we are going to disrupt the submarine cable. We are going to disrupt the power stations that feed the cable. And because of that, we cannot do that. We are going back to the original design. So I asked the question, was this survey not done before? If the survey had been done before, they would have seen these issues. It's a total embarrassment. It's a national embarrassment. And this type of embarrassment happen again and again and again in Nigeria. It's becoming typical of Nigerian situation, where you want, for sake of cheap publicity, you rush to do something, announce even before the preliminary issues have been settled or investigated. So now, what happens to a $200 project that has already been destroyed? The road is not going to pass there again. You can imagine that project employs thousands of Nigerians. It is a key factor in the economy of the state and the country. It is a realization and resort area. You have cleared it up, and all for what? All for nothing. If it is any other place, if it is any serious country, the minister responsible for this would have resigned himself or should have been kicked out. But this is Nigeria. So these kind of things, nobody is held accountable for them. So we have this ugly situation where you have destroyed houses, you have destroyed multi-billion naira businesses, only to end up saying that, okay, we are not going to pass the road there again.
Honestly, this is a situation that just takes word out of my mouth. I'm just trying to exercise some restraint here because it is so egregious. It is so so annoying, so frustrating, but not surprising anyway. coming from Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Like I said, when the foundation is faulty, what can the righteous do? Everything about that man reeks of fault. You have repeatedly said it in our previous segments that he was not prepared. He's been day after day. He kept proving you right that he wasn't prepared after all. This is someone who actually vied for the presidency, he had his eyes on the presidency for about 20 years before he eventually became fraudulently bulldozed himself into being the president. Yet, can you imagine someone pursuing something with all passion and enthusiasm, with all the resources at his disposal for 20 good years, and eventually he found himself achieving that? And unfortunately, this same person came out to tell us by actions that he wasn't prepared after all, after 20 years. And there is this impunity that is so overwhelmingly prevalent with this administration, this fraudulent administration. Everything about this administration is just it's a fraud. If you notice, all their policies, everything they do, major projects, major whatever they will intend doing, usually things like that, first of all, that a responsible and transparent government, first of all, a kind of, even if they want, no matter how discreet they want it to be, they still find a way to leak it out to the public, to gauge the public, to gauge the public acceptability of this project or policy. To first of all weigh everything, review everything, make decisions based on popular expectations. But in this government, they never did. Take a look at, of course, they started with that Lady Foundation. Of course, they showed us the one they were swearing this fraudulent president in. From day one, he obviously showed to us, told us, expressed to us that this is who I am, this is my way, my modus operandi, this will be the way I walk. I won't consult with you Nigerians. I will not contact anyone, stakeholders. I will just unilaterally take decisions and implement them, whether you like it or not, and of course, eventually shove it through our throats. That's exactly, he did that he led the foundation by, first of all, taking out subsidy. That was the starting point. Electricity, to the same thing. We just had the issue today that electricity subsidy will be removed, thereby increasing electricity tariffs. And the next day, was it the next day? Next day, I think within 24 hours, 48 hours or whatever. And the next day, the subsidy was removed. Who does that? What kind of what responsible country does that? And the same thing would happen with this Coastal Road, the most expensive road project ever in the history of our country. Yet, it was never put out to the public domain. It was never discussed in the public. No, we had about, it just filtered into our ears the next day. I think about a week, less than a week later, we had it was already signed, approved and signed. So everything about this man, the president, the President Bola Tinubu, who rigged him. He didn't even rig it. Rigging is even a better word. He forced himself on us. Everything about him is just shrouded in stench. It is so unfortunate. You just said it all. Look at how people have lost their business, a very business that actually we're talking about economy being damaged already. Yet you are killing the economy even more by destroying businesses. Just because you want to award a contract to yourself and your cronies. A contract that didn't even go through, didn't pass through due process, for God's sake. The biggest, the most expensive road project ever in the history of our country, yet never passed through due process. The standards were not met at the process that led to the award of this contract. This is unbelievable. What else? I've said it earlier that this is a government of sharing the resources of our country. They have just come in there to share. Of course, you said it. If it were a responsible government, the Minister for Works would have been fired. What do you expect? They say, show me your friend and I will tell you who you are. Tinubu is their boss. What is the pedigree of their boss? What is the antecedent of their boss? Of course not. You cannot, like I've said it before, you as a father cannot be a thief and your son or your child is a thief. You now want to caution your child or advise your child or try to discipline your child for being a thief. What do you expect will come from the child? Of course, it's a revolt. It's a rebellion that will come from the child, because the father does the same thing, so he wouldn't have any moral justification to chastise his son for doing the same thing that he does. That is so sad. It's so sad, so unfortunate. Let's move on, Barrister. Let's go to the now. Kano State. I don't know. I think I don't know if you have read my article. Well, we'll be talking about Kano State Emirate. We all know, for those of you who know then, how Sanusi was appointed as the Kano State Emir. I wrote an article to that effect some 10 years ago, and I expressed my opinion. I saw it as a very, very bad move on the side of then Governor Kwankwaso. That appointment was political. The seat of the Emirate seat is not supposed to be political. Traditional seats are not supposed to be political. Anyway, I'll delve deeply into that after Barrister Manta has given us an update or give us opinion on this issue. Barrister, what is your opinion about the Emirate controversy in Kano State? We had, even though court gave an injunction to stop that, to stop the swearing in of the Emir, Sanusi, the governor still went ahead to flout the court's order. That is the country we find ourselves. We shall be talking about this judiciary stuff, the judicial rascality and corruption as well in our probably next week. We'll be going into details on that. So even at that, they went ahead to swear this man in, flouting court's order. What is your opinion on all this whole stuff?
Well, let me say that The man, Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, is a controversial figure for a long time. If you remember, back when Jonathan was in power as president and Kwankwaso was the governor of Kano State, Sanusi was the CBN governor, and he had a serious spat and confrontation with the federal government, that is with Jonathan, leading to his removal as the CBN governor. In response to that, and to spite Jonathan, Kwankwaso appointed him an emir. That appointment was directly to spite the president, sitting president Jonathan at that time by Kwankwaso, because they were not in good times. By the time that Ganduje came, and being that he himself, Sanusi, is a very garrulous person, he talks on every issue, even issues that traditional rulers normally do not comment on. He do comment on it. So he ran foul with the governor, leading to his removal and the breaking of the emirate into 5 emirates. Now that 5 emirates, the breaking of the Kano Emirate into 5 was not the first time it was attempted. Back in the days of Governor Rimi, Abakarimi, he attempted to break the emirate into 5, into the same 5 districts then, because he fell out with the emir of Kano then. And that followed resulted in the House passing a bill to break the emirate into 5. The only thing he did was to appoint other emirs, but he did not remove the emir of Kano, like Ganduje did. When he broke the emirate into 5, he removed Sanusi as the emir of Kano and put the son of the late emir as the emir of Kano, and they appointed other emirs for the other 4 emirates. Now, when Governor Yusuf, when they were campaigning, Kwankwaso and his group were campaigning, it was obvious, and they did not hide the fact that if they come to power, they are going to revert and abolish those 5 emirates and return Sanusi as the emir. So it is not surprising to some of us who have been watching the activities of the present government in Kano. Their body language, even their statements, all true, were that Sanusi will be brought back, and all because they also want to, because of their antagonism to Ganduje, everything that Ganduje did, they want to reverse it. So these decisions are not really in the interest, that is not based on the interest of the people or the emirate. It's just political antagonism and private egos of the principal actors playing out in the public. A lot of things that Ganduje did, political decisions he took, the governor has reversed or is reversing them one after the other. And this is one of them. Now, whether legally, it's difficult to challenge and say, no, the House of Assembly has power, just like they had power to dissolve, to amend the Emirate law and dissolve the Kano Emirate into 5. They also have power to reconstitute it and abolish it, which they have done. But the purpose and the driving force behind it is what is an issue. It's not the interest of the Emirate. It's not that doing this will make the Emirate more efficient, better position to serve the people. It's just a trip of ego. That's all what it is.
I remember, for those of you who this is, I think I will be posting on the comment section. I will post the link. You can go to the link and go through my article, the article I wrote about this issue when it first happened some 10 years ago. So, and that will give you at least a little picture of what we are talking about now. And probably, have the detail of my opinion there. I am unambiguously, I remember, I just as then, I gave reasons why I was totally against this. Just like you said, and I said earlier, that it is all political. I remember them vividly, and I think it reflected in my article then, that it was just about spiting Goodluck Jonathan, then the then president. Sanusi, just like then Sanusi was as corrupt as this same Emefiele they are talking about today. Emefiele may have done his own in a very, very crude manner. Sanusi did almost similar thing. He was as corrupt as Emefiele that is facing the law right now. His own was even worse because he was rumored to have a whole lot of that was alleged actually, but we had we never came out to debunk most of those things. How he went around about with married women, left, right, and center, flangering on vacations here and there. So that man is as corrupt as. So anytime I hear Sanusi on maybe addressing the public on one issue or the other, on one function, in one event or the other, trying to play righteous, trying to play holier than thou, I just wink at him because this man is a hypocrite. And this man I have never had in the history of emirate or traditional rulership. I've never had a situation where we have someone with a very corrupt background assuming the position of a traditional leader. And besides, for God's sake, I understand our constitution arrogates so much power, of course, to the governor and to be in control of all traditional heads. You see, this is the problem I have with this issue of democracy. Because it is Western. It is not our culture. It is not our own way of life. Tell me, if not this crazy democracy of a thing, how will those days, for God's sake, kings and emirs and obas were highly revered? Why can't we copy so many things from the West? The unfortunate thing, we always copy the things that are in the interest of our politicians, the 1% of the population, less than 1%. Sir. What suits their purpose, their insatiable desire for power and authority. That's the policy we import. We copy from other, because Nigerians we copy too much. Most times fail to actually be ourselves. Do things the way it suits us. We copy Western culture to our detriment, to the detriment of the generality of the country. Now, just look at Britain, for God's sake. They have the monarchy as well. Can you imagine? Even in this our civilized world, politicians still pay homage. They go to get approval from the queen, then now the king, for validation that whenever a prime minister wins an election, the first line of action is to visit the royal palace, to validate, to get the blessing of the queen, as the case was, and right now the king. Why can't we copy that, for God's sake? That's to tell you, look, in Britain up today, technically, the queen or the royalty actually calls the shots. Technically, it's not. I understand that don't come at me with to get your facts right. But technically, that is just it. They almost worship royalty. Those to be in Britain, they worship the royal home. It's not just honor, it goes beyond that. They literally worship the royal home. So
I forgot to mention, you made a point that I want to emphasize. Go back to the appointment of Sanusi as the emir. Even before that, while he was in the central bank as governor, it was common knowledge within Nigeria that the people who were positioning themselves to become the emir stood no chance, because he was said to have accumulated from the central bank a war chest of running into billions.
Yes.
It is known and confirmed that even while he was CBN, he had already sold the regalia of the emir.
Yeah.
Everything he had bought, the shoes, the regalia.
Yeah, I remember then.
The
yeah.
In the firm belief that nobody could
yes.
win the emirship, that he was going to take it, backed by billions of naira. And then happened by chance that the governor was also having a beef with the president. So these circumstances combined, the money, the power, the influence, and the desire to spite the president, combined to bring him into the emirship.
Yeah,
it had nothing to do with other qualifying factors.
Now, back to my point. You're right. Back to my point. Honestly, it's so sad that our governor, politician, will just throw around our traditional leaders, the culture, the custodians of our culture. Just one politician from nowhere who probably before when he was even some things that are happening with the royal, with traditional process, he was not even born when this process started in the first place. Just comes up because of one political power, because we chose to import a Western culture of what we call democracy, for God's sake. That this democracy that is bastardizing our way of life, our culture. For God's sake, why will a governor, one small boy from somewhere, just treat our elders, our traditional rulers, like rag? You depose and impose, dethrone and enthrone. Every time, you just do it at will. This is unbelievable, for God's sake. Royalty is something we from the beginning has always been something so revered and should be. But today in Nigeria, the reverse has become the case. It is so sad. Unfortunately, this issue with Kano State, honestly, I wrote it in my article. Go to my article, find out whatever. I predicted that, look, so this is being there. It can never, it will remain there. As look, under normal circumstances, royalty, we know that royalty has to do with lineage. Most, if not all, the ones at least we know in Africa, especially in Nigeria, has always been, the process has always been through lineage. If this man dies, his son takes over. If his son is not there, someone in the same blood, or his brother, elder, or younger brother, or whatever, if his son, he does not have a son, whatever, it has to do with lineage, for God's sake. Now, Sanusi just coming from nowhere, when this man, the late Emir, the late Emir had several kids, several sons and children, and the daughters as well. But he has people who could take over from him. Yeah, this man just came and circumvented the process, bulldozed his way into snatching the emirship. Look, it is not done with the Kano issue. I predicted it in my article. It is not. Look, anything that has to do with tradition, and culture, it stands the test of time, because it is never, anything that has to do with tradition has never been settled wrongly. If you do something wrongly with tradition or culture, it will come back. It could be 10 years, it could be 20 years, it could be 50 years, whatever, in one way or the other, it will come back to haunt the system. It will come back to haunt people. So this thing about imposing Sunusi wrongly, because when Ganduje is now, I'm not a fan of Ganduje, he's a corrupt governor, but in my own judgment, he did the right thing. He corrected the anomaly by deposing Sunusi, rightfully deposing. Even when Konkoso was someone I admired then as a governor, and I expressed that too in my article. But it's been proven over time that Konkoso is he himself is just a mess and a hypocrite. For God's sake, we cannot build anything on corruption. The Emirate seat, if Sunusi remains the Emir of Kano, that means the foundation is corrupt. That thing cannot be sustained. Such indignity cannot and should not be sustained in Kano State. The right thing should be done. Sunusi does not deserve to be the Emir. He lacks all the moral pedigree, all the moral pedigree to be the Emir. Apart from moral self, he lacks the traditional pedigree. We have a lot of people who are in line to take over from their father, the late Emir. Sunusi is far away in the line. So I don't know where he came from nowhere, just decided to do this nonsense. So he does not deserve, he does not have the traditional and the moral pedigree. He's not only far in the line, he's highly corrupt as well. Or he was highly corrupt. I don't know if now, probably he has repented, but his foundation as his history as then governor of CBA, we all know it is still fresh on our minds. So let's move to the next next topic. I think we are done with this topic. I think that is it. For those of you, please, if you're interested in reading the article, I will upload the article. Just go to the link will be in the comment section. You can go through the article and have a detailed view of my opinion then, which has not changed. All right, Barrister, the next topic we'll be talking about is IMF. Sometimes last week, the IMF came out publicly to actually tell FG they were actually instructing their stooge, Bola Tinubu, instructing their puppets. Yeah? You can imagine a foreign entity having so much power on a sovereign entity called Nigeria, just because we have one leader that they have a lot to blackmail him with. Yeah, some of you will say the IMF has been in control of Nigeria. Yes, but not at this level. I remember during Obasanjo tried to contain them, try to a kind of at his own, because Obasanjo, like him or hate him, honestly, again, he wasn't perfect as a president, but I loved his spirit and tenacity, his courage then. He's a very smart man, and he still remains a smart man. He may have done some stupid things, but overall, I think I like his leadership skill and style. So please, Barrister, what is your opinion on this? IMF coming out so bluntly this time around with all hell blazing, and with all impunity, telling us that they are no more longer, they are no more pulling the strings. They are not pulling the strings behind the scene anymore underground. They don't do it discreetly anymore. It's now all way out. They have just come out plainly to say, no, we are to tell Nigerians, hey, we are in charge of your economy. You must do it our own way. So, Barrister, what's your opinion, please?
You know that the IMF is an organization formed to promote global financial stability and trade. And it does this through loans, technical assistance, and surveillance of policies. And in that regard, they issue periodic reports, sometimes quarterly, on performance of economies worldwide, country by country. They have what has come to be called IMF conditionalities. And these conditionalities are the medicine for a failing economy for virtually every country, that, particularly the third world countries. They make the prescriptions in the same way, not minding the peculiar circumstances of any particular country. They have the same state of conditionalities that they will tell your government to follow. So those conditionalities, it is not just removal of electricity tariff. That is just one of the conditionalities is removal of tariffs across the board. So you have removal of tariffs in petroleum sector,
subsidy, not tariff.
Subsidy across the board. So you have removal of subsidies in petroleum sector, in electricity, in every other sector. That is part of their conditionalities. They want the country's currency to be floated. They want reduction in government spending. They want increase in taxes. They want removal of trade barriers. All this, they will tell you, is for the purpose of improving your budget, removing your budget deficit. But we have come to see that these conditionalities have never worked in any of the countries, that, particularly the third world countries, that have allowed IMF to operate or to direct their economy. In Nigeria, we are so unfortunate today that what we are seeing today, and I repeat, the government came to power, Tinubu came to power without being prepared to govern. He was prepared to take power, but he was not prepared to govern. So he has now adopted hook, line, and sinker the conditionalities of the IMF and the World Bank. And I mentioned that the IMF and the World Bank are controlled by America and Europe. And the interests of these countries, America and Europe, do not run in the same direction with our interests as a developing country. They do not want us to develop. They want us to be, one, a dumping ground for their products, two, a supplier of raw materials to their economies. They want that perpetual dichotomy to be there. We'll be supplying their economies with the necessary raw materials. They will process, manufacture a whole range of products and sell to us, making 10 times the profit from the prices they bought our raw materials. This is something that is advantageous to the economy. And the World Bank and the IMF were formed particularly to ensure that the state of the world economy remains in favor of the West, of the US and the West. And I always give an example of the 190 countries that form the International Monetary Fund. The United States alone have a voting power of 17.4%. Many countries like Nigeria are having 0 point something% voting power. Next is Europe. So they control the IMF, they control the World Bank, they appoint between the US and Europe. Europe appoints the managing director of the IMF. America appoints the managing director of the World Bank. So they control these institutions, and their prescriptions can never be to our benefit. So it is left for us, it's left for our leaders to sit down, look at the situation, devise strategies and policies that will drive our economy, not to borrow or to just flow with the conditionalities as imposed by IMF. And I always mention that in case of Nigeria, the Nigerian economy defies textbook. It is not a question of you have an economic textbook, Adam Smith and the Keynesian economists, and they say, okay, this is how an economy functions. When demand is high, the prices increase. Or when supply is plenty, the prices drop. Nigerian situation defies the textbook. Any leader who is coming to power in Nigeria that wants to grow and develop Nigeria, we have to develop homegrown measures and policies to develop the Nigerian economy. Take the case of a country like Tanzania. Tanzania was on the verge of economic collapse. They invited the IMF. The IMF came with the same conditionalities. After 30 years, after 35 years of implementing the IMF conditionalities in Tanzania, the country is no better off. It's perhaps worse than what it used to be. Now come back to Nigeria. The implementation of the IMF conditions and the World Bank conditions has led to a galloping inflation of about 33% inflation, with the food inflation reaching 40%. That is inflation in food prices has reached 40%. Others are about 33%. We have today in Nigeria about 20 million school children out of school. They are not going to school, apparently because their parents cannot afford to send them to school or for some other reasons. We have about 130,000 doctors for a population of over 200 million. So you can see how everything, the doctors we are producing here are all going to Europe and US. So everything is coming down. The health sector is coming down. The educational sector is coming down from, not that it was so high before, but wherever it was, it is going down. The economy is going down. The health sector is going down. The education is going down. Now, if the country's education system is going down in the modern economies, it is education that is driving the economies of countries like China. Technology and technical products are driving the economy. You have the Bill Gates of this world, these people who have created products from technology. Now, if our educational system is being compromised and going down, how do we stand to grow or even talk of competing with other countries? So that is where the IMF conditionalities are taking us to.
Thank you so much, Barrister. Again, just to add to what you said, the issue of the interest of the US and the West generally, Europe and US. It's obviously it's a selfish interest. The West have always been about themselves. They pretend to help Africa by sending billions of dollars worth of aids, or sometimes even in cash. They pretend to do that, just like you noted. because what they are benefiting from Africa is probably, maybe I'm exaggerating, exaggerating on this, probably 100 times bigger than what they are giving. Because just like you noted, all they do is they come take our raw materials, not just raw, everything that has to do mineral resources, do with mineral resources. They export it from Nigeria to the West, manufacture all the manufacturings, and send it back to Africa. Just keep us. Their desire is to actually keep us keep us as slaves in perpetuity. Modern day slavery. This is what it is all about, and that is why they support corrupt leaders. I remember when Obi was coming, when Obi was contesting and he was so popular, whatever, I basically talked about this. I was also open about it that the West wouldn't want Obi. I said it that the West would prefer Atiku than Obi. A sort of. So I think they eventually went for Tinubu when they realized that they have a lot to blackmail Tinubu with, much more than what they have to blackmail Atiku with. And that's why they decided to all embrace the way when they decided to go all out to embrace Tinubu, a sort of. So, and that is just it. They are always, the West will always continue to support corrupt leadership in Africa, and in our case, Nigeria. And that is the unfortunate situation. Very, very unfortunate. Like IMF is about themselves. World Bank is about themselves. They are paymasters, the US and the Europe or whatever. So, and that will continue. What we need is, that is why we need a really, really strong leader. And only us, by ourselves, with our own hands, can usher in the best leadership in our country. If we don't do that, if we are waiting for anyone to do it for us, sorry, we are going to continue to go down the drain in all facets of life, especially economically, because the West does not wish us well. They don't wish us good. They don't. It is in their own. It will be detrimental to their interest for us to be well, for us to be united, for our economy to thrive. It will be in their. It will be detrimental to them. So it is high time we stopped looking up to the West. Let us be ourselves. I think, what is his name? Former President Obasanjo said it sometime last year or whatever. Yes. That Nigeria, that democracy cannot work for us. We should have our own system that works for us, and that is just it. Democracy, we are not made for it. It is a Western import. So it's just, that is not our system. It can't work in our system. Let us have our own system. What really works for us, and that is just it. And secondly, this issue of economy, I've always said it. Economy, yes, economy is always, of course, it is a social science as a course. But honestly, just like you noted earlier, that's what I've always said. Economics, honestly, in my own judgment, in my own opinion, even though they call it social science, honestly, it's supposed to be an art. It's supposed to be art. It's supposed to be an art subject, because you just noted something. Economics is not science. It's not something that science is something that the process is standard. Okay, you go through this process, you arrive at the same end. You go through that process, you arrive at the same end. That is science. Art does not work that way. Art, you can achieve the same result in different ways, and the same thing does not apply to all clients. Art is dynamic. It evolves. So you can apply what you apply here in this situation will be different from what you apply in another situation. That is what we call art. And that is so, the same thing applies to economics as well. I don't even know why they call it social science. Okay, I understand sometimes there are sometimes something you have is straight, looks straight. You follow this way, you get it that way. But it is not always the same. It is not always the case. Just like you noted earlier, you can't use the same brush, economic brush, to paint the entire Africa. Every country have its own peculiarity when it comes to economics. Not just economics, everything. They have everything when it comes to everything about life. Every country, not just country is even big. Go to common community. Common community. Go down to state level, local government level, community level. You say every clan have their own peculiarities. Every clan, they call it clan in villages or whatever. They have their peculiarities. Not to talk of as something that is as big as a country. So economics, you can't just use one brush to paint the whole countries in Africa. That is the problem. Nigeria's situation is different. Nigeria's situation is different from other African countries' situation. So IMF policy of taking out subsidies or squeezing the economy, squeezing the populace, it won't solve the. Of course, they know that. They know better than us. They know that they are deliberately doing it because they don't want us to grow. They want us to be slaves in perpetuity. That is just the essence. Nothing more and nothing less. And so that is just it. Nigeria's situation, it is not this. The economic science won't work in Nigeria. The Western economic science will not work in Nigeria, and that is just it. As I always admit, one thing I've always said is, look, some countries they need pure capitalism, 100% capitalism. Even I can't even find where you find that 100% capitalism. Not even in the US that is a capitalist, real capitalist country. There are some things that government still subsidizes. Even in the Western world, government subsidizes agriculture and some other stuff. So there is nowhere you find 100% capitalism. So I don't even know why they want to impose something on Nigeria where that is not even found in their own climes. So that is the point.
We have the misfortune of having a wrong political system followed by wrong economic policies. And you know, the two of them correlate. A good political system stabilizes, unifies, and makes the country, politics, and everything cohesive. Creates the right atmosphere and environment for economy to thrive. So the two of them are related. The unfortunate issue in Nigeria is we have got both of them wrong. And I agree with you 100% that the kind of democracy we operate or we claim to be operating is not going to lead us anywhere. It has not been leading us anywhere. It's only leading us to destruction. There's more hatred. There's complete divisiveness in Nigeria today between the various tribes, between the geopolitical regions, between the religions. These tendencies have been increased and accentuated to a level that threaten the very foundation of Nigeria today. And coupled with that, you have bad economic policies that are now creating cost of living crisis in Nigeria. So you see that we have got it wrong on both sides.
Yeah,
unfortunately. And unless we retrace our steps, there's no hope for this country. If we do not retrace our steps and soon, I don't see how this country can go forward or remain the country that we are now.
Yeah, honestly, I agree with you, sir. So that is just it anyway. I think that is, I think you've said it all, and that is how we end this topic. I just hope Nigerians will rise up to the occasion and do the right thing. We can't continue this way, just like Barrister Samantha said. We have gotten it wrong. The only two ways that things would have been better for us, that two through channels that would have been, that if we had taken, Nigeria would have been better. Those two channels are on very, very bad footing, very corrupt foundation, political leadership and economic leadership. It's so sad, so sad. Barrister, let's move to the next topic of the day. It has to do with the federal government out to spend 20 trillion naira of pension fund on infrastructure. And I asked myself, when I read this, I asked myself, when they had this in budget, was this reflected in the budget that, because I know in the budget, I think we have about 5% infrastructure, just 5%. Again, that's another corrupt, that cannot be overemphasized. Only 5% of the budget goes to infrastructure, just 5%. Now, the 5%, the infrastructure on the budget, I asked myself, was this reflected in the budget that this 5% infrastructure will be implemented from pension funds? And I up to now, I've not found an answer to that. I don't know, except probably, Barrister, you have an answer to that. Otherwise, I doubt. That's not the truth. I doubt if it will, because if it reflected, if it was recorded in the budget, someone or some people could have brought it up, at least from the public. They could have brought it up, brought our attention to that. So I think this is an afterthought to fund this 5% infrastructure from. I don't get it. So I don't get it, for God's sake. Now you are spending is it 1.5 on the road, $15 billion. That's about almost 20, the same amount, almost 20-something trillion naira. That's the same amount they want to spend. The pension fund is about 20 trillion or whatever. So if the road project, the Lagos Coastal Road, Lagos-Calabar Coastal Road project is 15 billion, that is, times it's approximately around the same figure, about 20 trillion naira. It should be running into 20-something trillion right itself. I think it's about 20-something trillion, about that figure. Now, this instead of them to channel this 20 trillion, this $15 billion into the 5% infrastructure, they decided to spend the civil servants' hard-earned money. The income, their saving income is their retirement income, for God's sake, savings. Their retirement savings. Now the federal government wants to jeopardize, want to put in jeopardy the destinies, the future destinies of civil servants. Not only civil servants, including not just civil servants, all workers, because the pension fund will have private sector labor force they pay into it as well. So it's for everybody. So the federal government now is out to put in jeopardy the future financial destinies of Nigerian workers. This is unbelievable. I smell something in few. Honestly, unfortunately, by the time the problem will come up, Tinubu will no longer be there. And these crazy people who are there with him, his crazy team, will no longer be there, unfortunately. And the innocent people will suffer for it. Barrister, what is your opinion on this crazy idea?
Well, like you heard when the government, the Minister of Finance came out to float a kite that the government will tap into the pension funds to carry out infrastructural development. there are a lot of issues associated with that because there is pension laws, the amended law regulating how pension funds can be invested and in what securities they can be invested and the amount of pension funds that can be invested. There are a lot of serious economic and social issues related to the attempt to tap into the pension funds. First of all, let me say that the 2024 budget of about 27 trillion, most of it is to be financed by, it's a deficit budgeting device. Most of that 27 trillion is to be financed by borrowing. It's not that it's not from sources of income that we have identified in Nigeria. About 70% of that budget is to be financed by borrowing. That is why we call it deficit budgeting.
Now, sorry to cut you short. This is a news to me. 70% is to be financed by borrowing.
Yes.
Now, what is wrong with our resources? Okay, all right, the oil, we learned that Buhari have actually sold out our future to borrowing too. So that is the crude oil. That means we'll keep giving them crude oil without payment because they have already paid upfront, right?
So now, when you look at it, that a lot of the funds that underpin the budget are to be borrowed, you now begin to cast your eyes and you look again that Nigeria has already borrowed so much. We are paying about 90% of our revenue. We are paying interest on borrowed funds. So you now cast your eyes and begin to look. Just like a man and his wife and children in their family, they are pressed economically, then they cast their eye and so that we have one money that is somewhere there. Let's go and pluck it. So they have cast their eyes and seen a good chunk of money in pension funds. And so they now want to go there and borrow from the pension funds. The issue there is that these pension funds are not liquid cash assets that are kept in a bank where you can just go and take. And again, the pension of retired workers is being paid from the same pension funds. As of March 2024, total pension fund assets amounted to about 19.6 trillion. Monthly pension payments to all categories of retired public servants is being made from these assets. And this highlights the problems of trying to tap into the same funds. At the same time, part of that pension funds has already been invested in federal government bonds and securities. And there's a percentage limit that you cannot invest more than this of pension funds. So if let's say about 70% of existing pension funds have already been invested in federal government bonds, which is secure, where are you now going to get 20 trillion, 19 trillion, 18 trillion, or even 10 trillion of the pension funds to put in the infrastructure?
So why now you just asked the question? Can you answer? Can you play the devil's advocate now? Can you just try to give us reason why they should do that? When what you just said, actually, that's the reality, that this money is not just there in liquid cash. This money is spread across so many stuff.
And it is from this spread that they still use to pay monthly pension funds. So you are now highlighting the challenges that will be faced if those pension funds are mopped up by the government to invest in infrastructure. Now, investing in government bonds is secure because the might of the federal government is backing the bonds. But a lot of the pension funds have already been invested in those bonds. So if you tap into what remains, then there's going to be serious problem with monthly pension payments
Which
to pensioners.
yeah, already, sorry to cut you short again. Now, we even have the problem going, it's been on for years, where we have issue of pension. So it's up to even where as we're speaking right now, there are so many thousands of people being owed pension. There is a backlog of pension arrears that is yet to be paid. A sort of, and now we have this same issue of the same government now is coming to even the pension fund that is running at deficit right now. They want to want to add more weight on the deficit. I don't get it. What now? I asked you earlier. Can you play the devil's advocate? Can you? This is practically an impossible situation. So how do you expect? What do you think they are thinking? What do you think?
This is why I gave you the background. They have to fund the budget by borrowing. They have already borrowed so much from international and multilateral agencies. Now there's domestic borrowing in the form of issuing of bonds and federal government securities. That one is ongoing. Now you now as a manager of the economy, you cast your eyes and see it is no longer that simple to borrow from multilateral agencies. One, because their interest is so high, and two, because you have borrowed so much already. You are paying about 90% of your revenue into debt servicing. So you cast your eyes round, and now you see what funds that are supposed to be sheltered and secured to take care of our elderly citizens who are retired. You cast your mind and see those sheltered funds spread across places, and you now want to pluck from there. You now want to pluck from there. That is why we are saying it is dwindling. Our revenue is coming down. Pension and
all right. I think we have a network issue. Okay. All right. You're back. Go ahead, please. Can you hear me? All right. While we wait for Barrister Manta to come back, you see, this is a problem we have with the Nigerian system. I saw it, even if we are able, if we manage to, with what Barrister Manta just analyzed now, and it is obvious that even if we have a saint somebody who will eventually come back to wield a magic wand, that the person will solve the Nigerian problem within 4 years or 8 years. With what Barrister Manta just analyzed, it's obvious that Nigeria is in deep mess, deep shit. We're in deep shit. That is just the right word to use. We're in deep shit that I really understand. A country forgot. I don't even know why we've not been declared. We've not declared bankruptcy. Nigeria is bankrupt. It is based on what you just heard from Barrister Mata, which is facts, which are facts. We are bankrupt. Why haven't we declared bankruptcy? We're supposed to declare, because it's a country where 90% of our budget, is it okay? 70% of our budget is dependent on borrowing, and about 90%. We may not be that accurate, but around that figure, about 90%. Okay, let's say between 70 and 90% of our revenue goes to debt servicing. I beg, make una tell me, Nigerians, how we want to survive this kind of situation for a very, very long time. So basically, even if we have a sense, a business genius, that comes to take over the leadership of the country, with the best hands on deck. It will basically take us a very long time, probably 10, 20 years to recover and start over again. It's a very bad, we're in a very, Nigerian situation is a very bad situation, a very precarious one. A situation that is almost, it is not impossible, but almost impossible. And almost irredeemable. And honestly, I don't know. I just don't understand how we can actually recover from this. Unfortunately, with someone like Tinubu, after additional, okay, I spent 1 year, 7 years, because I hate to say this. I hate passionately to say this, but I'm a realist. Tinubu will remain there in the next 7 years. That's just the reality on ground. Again, I hate to say it, but that's just the reality on ground. And so, with 1 year of Tinubu alone, Nigerian economy has gone berserk. 1 year of Tinubu alone, everything in Nigeria is just going haywire. Political, financial, economic, administrative, everything is just going haywire. 7 years, we are in for a long haul, unfortunately. Barrister, you're welcome back. Yes, you were saying something, please. You can finish up so that we'll move to the next topic.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, I was saying that pension funds represent not just financial assets, but a covenant to assure dignified retirement of our citizens. To tamper with it, to risk undermining the whole concept of pension and the stability of our retired citizens. The risks are too many. I remember having read a situation like this arose in the US during an election year. I can't remember, but I believe it was between Gerald Ford and President Carter. I mean, when the candidate Carter then, who at one campaign rally carelessly said that he was going to utilize pension funds and invest them in the American stock market. The Republicans were all over him to show that this is evidence that he did not understand anything about economics. Trying to tap into pension funds is always a very risky business. And it can affect the dignity of our retired citizens across the board. It's not a good idea. They should look for other ways. There's already provision in the law of the percentage of the funds that can be invested in the bonds and federal government securities that are safe, are almost 100% safe because they carry the might of the federal government. But the law also recognizes that you cannot put all of that funds or even a substantial part of it into an investment, no matter how secure it is, because it's a revolving fund. Payments are being made from it every time. So alarm should be raised now, as it is being raised, that the government should put their eyes elsewhere, devise other strategies involving private partnerships, public partnerships to fund infrastructural development. This can be done with the right economic environment and atmosphere. But then the wrong thing is being done. When you invest, they'll come and destroy your investment. How do you want people in the private sector who have the money? They have the money.
Yeah.
The private people in Nigeria have more than 19 trillion naira. They have it. If the right atmosphere is created and the right environment is created, the right legal regime and judicial process are put in place, you see money will come out, people will come out. But in a situation where you can bring $200 million and invest, and the next day it is demolished without compensation, foreign investors ask, if I bring my money in Nigeria and there's a dispute, how long will the judicial process, the court case take? Then will lawyers take there, okay, maybe 10 years. Now tell me, who will bring the money?
Of course.
So let's go back to the basics. Let's create the atmosphere. Let's create the enabling environment. Let's review our judicial process to give people confidence, to give people who have money, both within Nigeria and outside, the confidence to come in and invest. Without that, we are just chasing shadows. We will mop up all the funds that our eyes can cast and see. And then after that, what? So this is the situation. Let them do the hard work. They wanted the power, they have it. Let them do the hard work that is required to pull us out of this quagmire that they also have to draw us in.
Yeah, you said it all, Barrister. Honestly, we are in a very, very sad, an extremely sad situation in our country. So sad, so sad. We move to the next topic again. Another sad topic. Another sad one, Barrister. We talked about this 90 billion naira being, when we talked about it, we discussed it on our previous show here. When we discussed it, it was just, we just had it that it was in the process. Last week, the federal government eventually approved it. And of course, as we speak, hopefully, I think that the money has been disbursed already, or is being disbursed. We have this a whopping 90 billion naira going for Hajj, for religious purpose. Let's just put Hajj, that word Hajj aside. It's just for religious, whatever religion, whether it is Islamic or Christian religion. This is 90 billion going for religious purpose. For God's sake, these are purposes that are not a necessity to the Nigerian economy, to the Nigerian populace. What has religion got to do with governance? This is one of the problems, this is one of the bane of the Nigerian system. A whopping 90 billion naira, money that we are looking for. We are highly indebted. Barrister, you just revealed to us, you just pointed it out to us that our budget is financed, is financed or is proposed to be financed. 2024 budget is proposed to be financed 70% on borrowing. And about 90%, you said, will be going, 90% of our revenue will be going into debt servicing. Yet, can you imagine this kind of a thing? Someone that is stupendously indebted, doling out another. I asked myself, where did they get this $90 billion naira from? How come? I don't get it. We are so squeezed. Our revenue is so squeezed and losing, not just squeezed, it's being strangulated right now that it is the revenue is losing its energy. Oxygen. The oxygen is being taken off our revenue. Yet, even in this strangulation, the federal government still finds somewhere 90 billion naira to fund what? Not infrastructure, not a necessity, not anything that will better the lives of the common man on the street, for religious purpose. Barrister, what can you call this?
If you recall, we made this statement on this show before, and there were a lot of reactions from Nigerians. Nigeria is a place of contradictions. How else can you show that we are an oil-producing country? We produce crude oil in large quantities, yet our local refineries like Dangote are buying the crude oil from the US because we cannot give them the crude. Is that not a terrible contradiction? How else can you remove subsidy from one sector of the economy and go and fund consumption in a sector that does not benefit the economy in any way, rather benefits the economy of a foreign country? It's only in Nigeria that you can have this mess and this nonsense happen. And don't forget, Hajj is an annual event. And knowing what we know in Nigeria, once they start that thing, they are going to continue, meaning that probably next year, you are also going to have subsidy on Hajj. Now you are having revenue shortages all across. You are mopping up funds. You are increasing taxes. Your prices of oil have increased. You are having some windfall from oil. You are increasing taxes in every facet of the society. When you mop up this fund, you now take it and subsidize a consumption activity like Hajj. I mean, I try to understand, but I cannot. This is politics being used to trounce economics. This is politics being used to be placed above the economy and well-being of the nation. We don't have any explanation or any cogent reason or defense for this kind of profligacy, from this kind of wastefulness, from this kind of useless spending. We don't have. And it's regrettable that we are going down that path. If this year, and knowing this country, if this year we are spending 90 billion on subsidizing Hajj, I can bet you next year the fund may even double.
Oh, absolutely.
Because that is how Nigeria operates.
Yes.
The whole thing will take on a life of its own.
Yes.
If 100 people went for the Hajj this year, because there's going to be subsidy, maybe 500 will now sign up to go next year. Yeah. So the subsidy regime will increase. So who are you fooling? You remove subsidy in one breath and then give in another. A non-productive subsidy in a productive sector of the economy and then spend it on a non-productive sector of the economy. That is called waste of the highest order. It's very, very unfair, very, very regrettable. And even now, it is not late to call on the government to halt that kind of misadventure. It's not good for economic health. People who want to go to Hajj, it's a personal thing. They should arrange for it. They should save for it over time and go.
And it's and it's not even mandatory.
No, it's for Muslims. For our Muslim brothers, the religion specifies that they should make, it's one of the pillars of Islam, that they should undertake the Hajj at least once in their lifetime.
Yeah.
So it is not, you are not required to do the Hajj every year.
All right. I think we're having network issue again from Barrister Manta's end. While we are waiting for him to come back, I think we shall be moving into the next topic. And the next topic we shall be moving into is about Wole
So you can
Soyinka.
say
About Wole Soyinka. Okay, I think let's see. Okay, Barrister Samantha is back. Barrister, you're back? Yes.
yes.
Okay, I think yes. I think that's you have said it all. Let's move to the next topic because time is well spent. Um, has been a kind of well spent. Wole Soyinka. I don't know. Did you watch the interview with Wole Soyinka?
Yes, I did.
Um, what is your opinion about this old man that is just I don't know. Let me hear from you first because I have a very and it's an opinion about the man that people don't many people may not want to hear from me, but I'm going to say it anyway. Go ahead, please.
Well, if you know Professor Soyinka, his attack on
Sorry. Before you go, if you probably you didn't hear, you didn't watch the beginning of it, whatever. The story around Wole Soyinka is about Wole Soyinka criticizing Obi. If for those of you who didn't know in the past, who were not aware in the past, and probably you come in contact with this video. This discussion is about criticism from a very sharp criticism, denigrating criticism, demeaning criticism from Professor Wole Soyinka against Peter Obi. This probably is the fourth time publicly, fourth time on different occasions that Wole Soyinka has really stepped his foot on the criticism gas against Peter Obi. So this is what we are talking about now. Sorry, Barrister, continue, please.
Yes, I said if you know Professor Soyinka very well, these statements and criticism of Peter Obi will not come to you as a surprise. He is a person who is in the complex of his own. The basis for his criticism of Peter Obi, in one breath, he said he hopes that Peter Obi will not offer himself for president in 2027 to save Nigeria because he believes that Peter Obi is not fit to lead the country. The reasons he gave are very pedestrian and funny. His own reason is that Peter Obi supporters or the obedient movement were abusing him, Wole Soyinka, and threatening him. Now, these are very pedestrian and cheap arguments.
Very petty.
Very petty. We have the obedient movement that came up, whereby nobody, even Peter Obi himself, could not control them. And they were doing this largely through social media. People sitting in their houses and putting something up on social media. How do you control those people? How do you go to some of these people? I'm sure Peter Obi does not know them personally.
Yeah, of course.
They hooked onto the obedient movement because they supported him.
Most of them.
They were now putting up statements on social media criticizing people who criticized Peter Obi or who did not support Peter Obi. I think anybody sensible person will take that in the stride. These are millions of people out there.
But sorry to cut you short, Barrister. Isn't it what is obtainable in all climes and in our case in Nigeria? That is what has been going. It's the same thing that has been going on for years in our politics, where you see people, even people who are against and for, going at each other on social media back and forth, insulting each other, whatever. Why is Peter Obi's case a different situation?
There are two people who are very particular. That is Wole Soyinka and the former Omokri. And you know, is it Omokri? Yes.
Yes, Omokri now.
And their reasons are very petty. Their reasons are very petty and childish. Peter Obi does not control each and every member of the obedient movement. This is social media. People do not gather to go and sit and abuse Peter Obi's opponents or other people. People are using their phones to type messages, their computers, their system to type messages. How do I control those kind of people? Peter Obi is not a person that will encourage his supporters to insult or abuse other people, even his political opponents. So for you to use that reason and go as far as saying that because of that, he's not qualified to rule Nigeria. But knowing Wole Soyinka, the real reason why he is against Peter Obi is something different. If you know, for the past 40-something years, if not up to 50 years, himself and former President Olusegun Obasanjo have been sparring. There have been enemies. There have been sparring. Anytime Obasanjo support anything, whether it is good, as long as it is being supported by Obasanjo, you will find Wole Soyinka will be on the other side. The quality of what Obasanjo is supporting does not matter. The fact that Obasanjo is supporting that side will make Wole Soyinka to take the other side.
Yeah, but again, that makes rubbish of his personality
so
as a civilized man.
In this case, his opposition to Peter Obi is solely because Obasanjo embraced Peter Obi and promoted him. So Wole Soyinka had to be on the other side. It is a very petty and childish thing, unbecoming of such an academic juggernaut, such an elderly person that we all look forward to. But alas, he's a human being. He has his biases. He has his own choices.
Yeah, but so his biases now, we all have biases, but not this petty bias. Not this petty bias. Too petty, for God's sake. This man is too big to be this petty. He's too exposed to be this petty. He's too old to be this petty. He's too advanced to be this petty. He's too civilized to be this petty, for God's sake. What the hell is going on with Wole Soyinka, for God's sake? Someone should call him to. He has children. His children should call him. I understand, of course. Come on. Wole Soyinka has children, right?
Yeah, he has children.
Does he have a wife?
He has children.
I never heard about his wife. Yeah.
He has grown-up children. Soyinka has grown-up children.
Yeah, I can't remember anymore because we all grew up to know him, a sort of as an activist all our lives, a sort of. So the truth is, I don't know. Honestly, it is just so sad. It's so sad. But this man is just Wole Soyinka is making rubbish of his civility, of his academic height, of his everything, of all the achievement, all he has achieved his entire life. He's making rubbish of it for just petty reasons, for some sentimental reasons, for God's sake. He is supposed to be an elder statesman, someone people go to for advice. Can you imagine? This man is so insensitive. The man is so selfish that, and Carlos, let me use that word. This same man, Peter Obi, has visited him. Even when Peter visited, can you imagine what he even brought to the public? Yeah, I was watching this interview and the way he was demonstrating it, how Peter Obi, when he was there with him in his presence, when he visited, he was typing some stuff on his phone, blah blah. I don't know. Is age telling on this man? Could age be the responsibility? Could be the direct responsibility for this act, for this misconduct?
It's not age. The Wole Soyinka is still very sharp. I told you his biases. Once he has to justify why he is against.
But again, he should listen to himself. What is we all listen to his justification? Does that and we concluded that this is just petty. It is petty, for God's sake. He should listen. He should learn to listen to himself. Wole Soyinka, Learn to listen to yourself. If you cannot listen to people, probably because I'm very sure people are advising him, Daddy, stop this. Daddy, stop this. But he's not listening.
That's the reason why I told you his pedigree. Soyinka at one time removed a gun to enforce his own policy. Do you know that he used a gun at a point? So he has a long pedigree. It is not today. So his biases are known, and he tries to push them, whether it is justified, petty, or not. He does.
Yeah, but one thing I admire about him is his youthfulness. That man is almost later in the year he will clocking 90 years. And I looked at him and said, this man is so blessed. He doesn't even look it. He looks someone in his late 60s, between late 60s and 70. The man still looks so young. What is happening, for God's sake? I was asking, why is this man looking so young? Honestly, the man looked 60s, late 60s to 70. He doesn't look 90 at all. A 90-year-old man, that's serious. So just like Pade Banjoda, who is 94, 96
and
or whatever.
He's still mentally sharp.
Mentally sharp. Honestly, the man looks great. He's in a very, very good shape. He looks like someone who will go into hundreds. Honestly, he doesn't look sick. He looks very, very healthy. It's sort of. So anyway, that is it. Now on this Peter Obi thing, for those of you who have been following this show, you understand that although I love Peter Obi with passion, I love him so much because I love him for objective reasons. I don't know him. I've never met him before, but I've gone through his antecedents as the former governor of Anambra State, and through his public, his antecedents in the public domain, his lifestyle, his philosophy. Those are everything about him, all the not everything, but most things, about 95% about everything around him. I just love him. And I really think that I thought, and I still think that someone of his political will and courage and pedigree will be the best for Nigeria. However, I have my I felt offended at the way things went in 2023. Because I just felt in as much as I love the man and I think he's the best, will be so far on those that are out that we all know that are vying for that position, he's the best among them. However, I still don't see him. I still do not see him, regrettably. And I'm not happy that I'm sorry to say this, but I'm a realist, as I keep telling people. Regrettably, Peter Obi will not win the election in 2027. He lost the opportunity. He lost the mark. He has all it takes to become to win that 2023 election, except one thing he did not have, or he doesn't have, because he's still displaying those tendencies up to now. And that one thing is the courage and the agility and the aggressiveness, political aggressiveness. I'm not talking about somebody who just go on the street and start fighting and call people to take up arms. No. The aggressiveness, the strong will, the strong political aggressiveness to actually do the right thing. He lost the opportunity. We all lost the opportunity in 2023 election. Nigeria, we've never had it that close. Not just close, but that genuine and sincere in the heart of most Nigerians, that we massively came out to actually make a difference. And Peter Obi just squandered that opportunity. And someone will ask, what are you talking about, JIBRIN? Someone will ask, why are you blaming Peter Obi? Is it his fault? I said, well, technically it is not. And technically it was his fault. Yes, because while Bola Ahmed Tinubu bulldozed himself to power, Peter Obi chickened out and depended on our judiciary. The judiciary that he was never, okay, I understood that they did him well. They did the right thing when he was a governor and probably did what was supposed to be done legally. But he could have been foresighted to know that the judiciary that returned him as the governor of Anambra State after he was impeached, wrongfully impeached, it's not the same it's not the same judiciary that we have today. And the situation was not the same as that of Anambra. Anambra is Anambra, just a state. In the 2023 election was about the entire country with so many dynamics that were out in play. So he missed the mark. He missed the mark. And because he missed the mark, as they always say, opportunity comes but once. He missed that mark. We all missed it. It will be, I still find it difficult to see a situation where Nigeria will where we Nigerians will really, really find ourselves in such positive situation as that of 2023 election, presidential election. I find it difficult. I am not a pessimist, neither am I an optimist. I am just a realist. I just assess situation, review situation, and pass my judgment and conclude based on the reality on ground. It is 1 + 1 = 2. And that is just it. There's no magic about that. 1 + 1 cannot give you 3. It will always give you 2. And that is the way I judge my things. Especially when it has to do with current affairs. I just add some puzzle. I just try to solve the puzzle. And whatever you get out of solving the puzzle, that is what I give out. So that is just the unfortunate thing. Peter Obi, unfortunately, unfortunately, as I said earlier, regrettably, I hate to say this with passion, Bola Tinubu we are stuck with Bola Tinubu in the next 7 more years, unfortunately. Barrister, can you please run this? If you have a thought, let's round it up, and if you don't, I'll just close the segment.
My thoughts on Peter Obi, I'll go back and say that in the history of Nigeria, we have had people we call the best president that never were.
Yes.
One of them was Obafemi Awolowo. The second one is Peter Obi. I have no doubt that by his pedigree, by his understanding of the Nigerian situation, he was best suited among the 3 leading candidates who contested the last election to have given hope to Nigeria, to have brought hope in Nigerians, and to have laid the foundation for Nigerians to start going in the right direction. That is the most that any human being can do now, to bring hope and to lay foundation and start Nigeria in the right direction. That's the highest. No matter you have superhuman ability, that's the highest you can do in the face of the rot, in the face of the decay, in the face of the corruption that we have. You can only reposition Nigeria and face it in the right direction, get the structures of government all facing the right direction, and then we can give you 90-something% success. He could have done that. Unfortunately, the dynamics of the Nigerian politics and the system that we operate now, which I have criticized, will not allow such a person to follow the process that we have now into leadership. Even if he come back in 2027, except by the grace of God, he will not be able to scale through, because the factors, the forces, and the dynamics are still there. They have not changed.
The dynamics, again, yes, I was, now for those of you who will wonder, probably I didn't give the reason why I think Buhari, Tinubu, we are stuck with Tinubu for the next 7 years. I didn't give, because I just felt some of you may have been following us on this show. I gave reasons, but let me repeat it. I think Barrister Manta just said a part of it, a sort of why Tinubu, the structure is still there. It's more entrenched now. It has taken a step further by entrenching himself. Now, again, the clear reason is we all knew what happened. Tinubu was out of government, was not in government, was not part of the government. Buhari was the president then. Yet Tinubu was able to muzzle himself through the entire system and impose himself as the president. So my analogy is this. My common sense thought is this. Like I always tell people, I keep telling everyone, I am a realist. I judge things based on what I can see and I understand. I'm just a realist. That's just it. So my common sense thought is this. If someone that was out of power that did not have power, that the Nigerian institution was not under his control, other people controlled it, yet was able to muzzle himself, subjugate, suppress, and oppress the entire system and the apparatus of government at his beck and call. What do you expect from such a person that eventually has become president and has thereby having all the apparatus of power, the military, the police, the economy, everything at his disposal? All he needs to do is just press his button and the button answers. Press the other button, the button answers. He calls the shot. He picks up his phone, gives instructions, gives directives, gives commands. And all this is ahead. What do you expect? 2027. If Bola Tinubu, which I believe he will still be alive because he's looking stronger by the day. He doesn't look like someone who was that sick during the election time. So, but 2027, honestly, it will be a runover. If he did what he did in 2023 election and went away with it, we allowed it. Nigerians allowed it to go away with it. Peter Obi allowed it to go away with it because Peter Obi could have spearheaded that resistance, peaceful resistance. What I expected from Peter Obi was that political will to be aggressive, responsibly aggressive, peacefully aggressive by championing the machinery of resistance. But he didn't do that. He chickened out. So if Bola Tinubu achieved that, was able to go away with that in 2023, as an outsider, what happens? As the president in 2024, 2027, it will be a runover. So whatever the mega party they are constituting and instituting and conglomerating and aligning, it no go work. It no go work. I hate to say this, it no go work. Make una no vex, but I'm just saying it the way it is. I'm a very frank person, for those of you who know me. And that brings us to the end of this show. Once again, you've been watching JIBRIN Angle on Oweleke TV. My name is JIBRIN, and we've been having this robust conversation with Barrister Austin Manta. Barrister Austin Manta is, in my own judgment, is a legal icon. He has a very, very tall legal pedigree, and he's been in legal practice for almost 40 years now. This is his 39th year. Maybe sometimes every in the year we make him. I think you'll be 40 this year, right, barrister? In practice,
we're already 40.
Oh, you're already 40. Oh my God! Congratulations. So this is 40. We're supposed to celebrate it. I'm supposed to. I'm supposed to do a kind of a special. I think we'll organize a special documentary on you, a sort of, and I think we'll talk about that, because if I didn't know, you would have, if you had informed me earlier, I would have run a documentary on your legal career for 40 years. Because
the way we calculate our years is by the receipt of our practicing fees.
Okay.
So we have 40 receipts now because we pay annually.
Okay. Okay, annually. So that's 40th year. Okay, of course. Yeah, which is the reality too. It's just that's a fact. It's not like the prison calculation of year. No. So it's the same annually. As long as you do it annually, that's it. 40 years. So so that is it. Congratulations once again. Like I said, I think I will have to organize a documentary on your legal career. If you had notified me, if I had known this earlier, I honestly would have done that on your 40th year. So this is the 40th year. So congratulations, viewers. As you heard, this is the reason why I say it's one of the reasons though why I call him. I say he's a legal icon. It's a very senior legal practitioner who has been active practice. That is all he does. They say jack of all trade, master of none, right? His own is jack of one trade. So do you know, I keep telling people, see, when someone is a specialty in one thing, does just one thing all his or her life, that person will be the best of that thing, that profession. That's exactly. We have seen so many lawyers who do so many things. They're into estate property, they're into construction, they're into so many things or whatever. They are still or whatever. And some of them are even, they call themselves son. Such people, I don't consider, you cannot compare such person, even if that person has spent 40 years as a lawyer. You can't compare such person with another lawyer who has done literally nothing other than practicing law all his life for 40 years. So this is why, one of the reasons, numerous reasons why I consider him a legal icon. So thank you so much, Barrister. Once again, viewers,
thank you.
Please join us once again on our next episode. Remain blessed.
Thank you.